Welcome to the Apex Mindset Podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about business, credit, and finances. I'm your host, Tonio.
And I'm your co-host, Danny Rodriguez. And I'm extremely excited about this episode because we're going to be talking about credit. And I know a lot of individuals coming from 2024 into 2025 are experiencing difficulties with their credit. So we're going to shed some light to help those individuals get up back on the right track. And then also, if you haven't started any credit, we're going to give you some advice and some tips on how you can get started today so you can have a great and prosperous 2025.
So, Danny, how do you build credit from scratch?
So that's a fantastic question. So for those of you that are looking to establish credit and you don't have any credit, I'm going to give you a roadmap that you can utilize to get started. So when you have zero credit, the first thing that you need to do is establish credit profiles with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And one of the way that we do this is we go out and we get secured credit cards or secured loans. And for an example, if you go to Bank of America will allow you to put up your own collateral, which is your own money. So if I wanted to get a secure credit card at Bank of America, I'd walk in there with, let's say, $1,000. And I give Bank of America $1,000, and in turn, they give me a credit card with $1,000 limit on it. So I'm essentially using my own money to build my credit, and I can do that the same with an actual installment loan. But credit cards have a higher impact on your credit score in the overall algorithm. So I would recommend, if you can do two, that'd be fantastic. Okay. You can get a secure credit card and a secure loan. But if you're not in that position, I would get the secure credit card first. So you walk into Bank of America, you ask to speak to a banker, sit down with a banker, and you specifically tell them that you're looking to establish credit and that you want to open up a secured credit card. And they will understand exactly what you mean, and they'll understand that you're putting up your collateral for that card. It does come with an inquiry, but secure credit cards are 99.99% almost all the time approved. So the inquiry is not really going to matter. They're just pulling the inquiry as a technicality.
Okay.
So once you get that secure credit card, that's going to create your credit profiles across all three credit bureaus. And now you have a file to go on. And we're going to build on top of that. So the fastest way and the safest way is to go out and get a secure credit card. Actually, I lied. Not the fastest way, but the safest way is to go out and get a secure credit card or a secure loan with either Bank of America or a specific financial institution that you're currently banking with. And then once you actually have the credit card reporting to your credit report, then you can go ahead and start adding other trade lines, primary trade lines that are in your name, like credit builder accounts, for an example, in the form of Kickoff is one of them. It's a popular one. So these are subscription-based credit builder accounts. So what does that mean? That means that for a subscription that you pay monthly, like a Netflix or a gym membership, you pay monthly, and then this primary trade line gets reported to your credit reports.
Okay.
Right? So for an example, if I go to Kickoff and let's say I want $1,000 trade line to report to my credit in the form of an installment loan, I pay $30 every month, and they report that trade line as me actually paying on an installment loan, like I actually obtained this from a financial institution. So this adds another primary trade line to your credit report, which is extremely important, and it helps you build your credit because now we're adding depth. So there's a couple of credit builder accounts that are great for starters. One of them is Kickoff, like I just mentioned. We have another one that's called Self. And then we have another one that's called Credit Strong. Excuse me.
I've heard of Self.
Self. That's a popular one. And again, so if you don't have the capital, let's say you don't have the money to go to Bank of America or Chase or whoever you bank with, and put up the $300, the $500, the $1,000 for that secure credit card alone, you can go and get a credit builder account like the three that I just mentioned to get you started. So those are going to create your profiles for you. It's going to generate a credit score, and then now you're on your journey. So maybe you start off with the credit builder accounts first, and then once you save up the money or have the capital, then you can go to the bank and get that secure credit card to get you started.
So what about for someone that already has credit but it might have some issues with said credit. How can they go about correcting that and building their credit?
So that's excellent. So before I answer that, I'm going to give you one other way that you can get your credit profile started. Free, zero, nothing needed besides a friend or a family member that's going to look out for your best interest, and that's called authorized user. So if you have a friend or a family member that already has a credit card, you can ask them to add you to that credit card as an authorized user. So what does that mean? That means that you can go to, let's say, for an example, your father or your mother, and if they have a credit card for 10 years, let's say, with a $10,000 limit, you can say, hey, mom or dad, can you please add me to your credit card as an authorized user? And if they say yes, they're going to call whatever bank or financial institution that credit card is with, give them your name, your social, your date of birth, and then 30 to 45 days later, that information, that credit card information is now going to report to your credit reports, which now is going to create that profile for you. Free of charge, you need nothing. So that's the fastest way on how you can create and generate credit profiles and a credit score is by being added to somebody's credit card as an authorized user.
And that's going to be big too.
That's huge.
Because let's say mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, they have a credit history of let's say what 10, 20?
Yeah.
10, 20 years.
Then that's average.
That credit history itself is going to add to their credit.
Right.
So basically, let's say Danny adds me to his credit card and he has a credit history age, right? That's the key word.
Yep.
And let's say his credit age is 20 years. By him adding me as an authorized user, I'm going to get reported to my credit those 20 years of that card.
100%. So that's the power in being added as an authorized user. You take the age of that account. So if your mother has, let's say, an American Express for 10 years, you get the 10 years from that account, and you also get the credit limit. So this is why authorized users skyrocket people's scores when they get added, because of the age that's associated with that credit card and also the limit. So that's huge right there. And a lot of individuals don't know about authorized users, but if you have a friend or a family member that is willing to add you, now you can tell them right out the gate, I don't want the credit card, because when you do get added as an authorized user, there is going to be a credit card with your name that's generated, but you don't want the credit card. You want to take advantage of the age and the limit, like we just discussed. So you just tell that friend or family member, you can take the card and cut it up. I don't even want the card. I just want to benefit from the age and the limit.
But it's definitely got to be got to do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
Because let's say that said friend, family member, they don't pay their card. That negative report will show in your credit history.
Bang, bang, bang. So that's an excellent point as well. So there's caveats to being added as an authorized user. So you got to take the good with the bad. So make sure when you ask that friend or family member to be added to that credit card, just ask them whether or not they make their, it's gonna sound a little crazy, but do you make your payments on time? Do you max the card out? Do you carry high balances? And the reason is because if that individual that has that card and you get added to that card and they max that card out and their score goes down as a result, so will yours. If they make a late payment and their score goes down, so will yours. So just make sure that whoever it is that you ask to be added to the card is reputable. You know that person to some extent, and you know that they're not lying to you when they say that they're not making late payments or they're not maxing their card out, because whatever activity happens on that card, it's going to affect the actual person that owns the card, that's the primary account, and any authorized users that are associated with that card.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent point right there.
You definitely don't want that in your credit.
You don't want that type of trouble. But so it's a caveat. So you got to do your research, right? So that's why we're bringing up these terms, and Antonio is bringing up some great points, especially when it comes to the authorized user, because you want to be aware of these things before you go down that path. But like I said, it's free. And it's the fastest way to create credit, all three credit reports, and actually generate that score. And if the individual that you're getting added to has age and a high limit, that means your score, you can start off with a 700, 750, and now you got a head start ahead of, 87, 80, 90% of people.
And it works. It works. Reason why I know me personally, but I was added to an American Express as an authorized user. I do have a card. I don't use it. They give me the card. They trusted me with the card. I don't use it at all. But the person that did add me, payment on time. I think payment way above the due date. Which is another key factor that I know you're gonna touch up on.
Well, we'll talk about that
at some point.
Yeah.
But definitely they added me to the card. My credit score instantly. Next credit report history went right up.
And that's the power of authorized user. A lot of people don't know about that. So if you're fortunate enough, definitely exercise that. So to answer your second question, for those of you that have established credit and maybe you hit a couple of bumps in the road along your journey and looking to kind of pivot and reestablish yourself, here's some things that you want to do. One, check your credit report. All right. We can't take care of the derogatories or the negatives if we don't know exactly what's reporting and how it's being reported, right? So go to annualcreditreport.com, like I mentioned previously, pull all three of your credit reports, absolutely free, print them out, and then go from top to bottom with a highlighter. Grab out a highlighter, whether it's red, purple, blue, green, whatever the case is, and go through and make sure that everything is 100% accurate. So according to the FCRA, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609, all credit reporting needs to be 100% accurate. So go from top to bottom and analyze your report. Highlight anything that is off. Errors in the name of your spelling, errors in aliases, multiple names, multiple addresses, anything that's not current as in the information on your driver's license that's in your pocket right now. You want to highlight and mark up, because these things you're going to utilize these errors, these concerns, to then generate a dispute letter for yourself when you go to send in to challenge this information with the credit reporting agencies, right? So print out your credit report, go through it, mark it up, write on it, right? You're going to make a copy of that and you're going to send that in, because again, everything on your credit report should be 100% accurate. So for an example, if you go through and you have multiple aliases of your name, multiple addresses, you're going to highlight that, and then you're going to bring that into ChatGPT. I'm giving you sauce right now. You take that information and you put it into ChatGPT, preferably 4.0. Yes, you have to pay for ChatGPT. The free version is good, but it's not as good as the 4.0, which is the subscription-based model. Correct. So you go into ChatGPT, or you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Go ahead.
So when you download your report, let's say for an example, you download your Experian report, you're gonna take a picture of it, or if you can download it in a PDF version, when you go to ChatGPT, you upload the PDF or the picture, and you ask ChatGPT to point out all of the inaccuracies in that report.
Ooh. See, me personally, I did not know that.
Yum.
He's gatekeeping.
So I'm gonna give you the sauce. So you take the picture, you upload it to ChatGPT, you ask it to point out all of the errors, right? ChatGPT is going to analyze that credit profile. You do it one by one, and it's going to give you a breakdown of all the inaccuracies that it found. And then after it finds the inaccuracies, you're then going to tell ChatGPT to create a dispute letter for you, utilizing the consumer laws and FCRA that are in direct relation to get those items removed from your credit report. So now ChatGPT is going to use the information that it just scanned from your credit report, and it's going to go and take all of the consumer laws and all of the acts from the FCRA, and it's going to generate a dispute letter mentioning all of the laws and how those laws have been violated, and produce a phenomenal letter for you that you can now mail into the.
I'm getting excited. I don't know about you guys. I did not know all this.
That you can now mail into. This is mentorship level information. And you can now take those dispute letters and mail them into the credit reporting agencies and wait your 30 to 45 days and watch some things vanish. That's one strategy that you can utilize for those of you that are experiencing, life happened and you have maybe a charge off or a collection or a bankruptcy or whatever the case is. Utilize AI, ChatGPT to do all the heavy lifting to generate the dispute letter based on the information that you uploaded. Send that out, certified mail, make sure it's certified because that's going to be your paper trail to confirm that you actually sent that out. Once you send that out and it's confirmed that they received it, it's 30 days from the date of receipt, not from the date that you mailed out the dispute letter, from the date that the Bureau actually received it. 30 days from there, you get a response and,
Wow,
more than likely, you're going to see a deletion if they can't verify the account. But ChatGPT is going to utilize every consumer law and every law from the FCRA, and put together a dispute letter because you asked it to. And that dispute letter is going to work miracles for you.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
That's something I like I said, I personally did not know. Now it has me thinking.
Oh yeah.
I think I got a few things that I could definitely use ChatGPT to help me out.
Absolutely, 100%. So that's a gem right there. So that's for those of you that have challenged credit, and like I said, you have a collection, a charge off, etc. Now, for those of you that think that you have challenged credit, so when I had my credit repair company, a lot of people came to me and they wanted credit repair, but it wasn't a credit repair problem. It was a credit utilization problem, right? So a lot of people max out their credit cards and have a low credit score as a result, thinking that they somehow mess up their credit somewhere around the line, but it's literally just let me pay down my credit cards to zero problem, and you'll see your score jump back up. So for those of you that don't have any derogatories, don't have any negatives, but have a low credit score, it's most likely because you have a high balance on your credit cards and you need to pay them down to zero each and every month if feasible. And let's not talk about the fact that you shouldn't be using more of your credit limit if you don't have the cash to pay it off.
Now, there's a key pointer there, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to the utilization of your credit card. Some people might debate it. Some people say it's like, don't use more than 25%. Some people say don't use more than 20%. Some people actually recommend don't use more than 10%.
Correct.
Now, based on your expertise, what would be your recommendation?
So I usually recommend, the FICO algorithm, right? So I usually recommend everybody to pay down to zero if you can. So that way you don't pay interest on the credit card, to the credit card companies. Now, once we understand how to play the credit game, we do not want to pay interest if we don't want to. And then naturally the next question is, well, how the credit card is going to make money? So everywhere you go and you utilize a credit card, that merchant, there's a processing fee that's charged to that merchant. Correct. Right? So when you go to Walmart and utilize your Visa, Walmart is paying Visa 2-3%, whatever the fee is that they have in the contract. So credit card companies are making their money off of that fee. So you do not need to carry over a balance and pay interest to them if you don't need to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's first and foremost. I always recommend everybody to pay them down to zero if you can. But if you cannot, I recommend to stay between 1% to 5%. So if I have $1,000 credit card, you should be within 1% to 5% by the statement date, right? So your credit card has two dates on it. It has a due date, like when you pay your minimum due payment by, and your statement date. So pull up your credit card statement, look for those 2 dates, find your statement date, circle it. The day after your statement date is when that information, that balance is going to be reported to the credit reporting agencies. So it's your responsibility, if you have $1,000 credit card and you have a $900 limit, is to bring that $900 all the way down within 1% to 5%. So 5% of $1,000 is $50. So your job is to bring that 900 all the way down to 50 or lower. So that way, when that information reports out on the day after your statement date, you maximize your credit score.
Your utilization.
And you pay a little bit of interest. So
I hear that.
You know, that's how you pay your credit card. If you can't pay it off in full, at least bring it down to a low percentage. Now, some people are going to say 30%, and that's because the FICO algorithm, that's how it's built. But just because it's built at 30% utilization doesn't mean that that's how you're going to maximize your score. So I implore you to try both strategies, right? If you have a high balance, bring it down to 30%, see how your score increases, and then also pay it down between 1 to 5% and see how your score increases as a result of that.
Okay.
And then also pay it down to 0 and see how your score increases as a result of that. So that way you can see that this information is accurate, and then it gives you an upper hand. And also, just going back to the beginning where we talked about, if you have $1,000 limit and you don't have $1,000 in cash, you shouldn't be using $1,000. Right. So you gotta employ some type of discipline, especially with credit cards. And lastly, if you don't have a credit utilization problem and you don't have derogatories, then maybe you're making late payments, right? Mm-hmm. So I always suggest whatever bills that you have, just put them on auto pay. If you go, like, let's say, for an example, your minimum payment due on your credit card is on the 10th, you can literally go in, log into your app on the desktop and put an auto payment for that day, a day before, 5 days before. So that way you don't forget, because a lot of us are busy. A lot of us have, moving parts in our lives. Correct. And we forget to make the payment manually, which a lot of us are used to, but just put that puppy on auto pay and forget about it and let it pay itself. And that'll eliminate that late payment. So I know a lot of people that are just making late payments, not because they don't have the cash or the money to do so, it's because they're forgetting about the date, they're forgetting about the alarm that went off, and they just don't make it. And as a result, they get a late payment, and then a late payment is going to drop your score like at least 80 points. So to avoid all that, just put all of your bills on auto pay, let it pay itself. It takes the worry out of your hands, and you don't have to worry about your credit score ever dropping as a result of that.
Or if you're just like me, you have a significant other that reminds you, hey, this payment is coming up. People, trust me, I forget all the time. My trick was I bought this big old wall calendar that I just stick it on the wall, and I write everything.
Okay, yeah. I used to do that too.
Because I trust me, man, financially, I'm a mess. And when I say I'm a mess, it's like I forget the due dates. I forget what amount I have to pay sometimes. So I have to write both the date and the amount so I can strategically organize my finances so I can make the payment on time. But thank God, or the higher power, that I have a significant other that keeps me in check, and she's great. She's always like on top of everything. Did you pay this? Did you pay that?
You got it.
And I was like, no, I'll do it right now.
And that's just holding each other accountable, because at the end of the day, if you make a late payment, that's your credit. So at the end of the day, in 2025, we're looking to learn new ways on how we can stay out of the debt trap, how we can repair our credit if we have issues with our credit, how we can make more disciplined decisions moving forward. So that's what we're here for. That's why we're having this conversation, so that we can hold each other accountable. Outside of that, my beautiful people, thank you for tuning into the show. We're planning to speak about a plethora of topics when it comes to business, finance, and credit. So we're looking to help other people out there that are dealing with the same issues overcome it, get to the next level, and actually start living your dream life. So with that being said, we want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Apex Primal. You know, they're a custom apparel company. They made these phenomenal hats that we have on today. If you go to officialapexprimal.com, you can get all of their custom apparel with Apex Primal all over it, different styles for different people. Yep. And if you also have any ideas in mind, you can email them and they'll take that into consideration and bring your ideas to fruition. So please Check them out. Official apexprimal.com. We'll have their link down in the description where you can click out and check out their products. Thank you for sponsoring this video. We've had an amazing time, and stay tuned for future content.
And it's going to only get better.
Only going to get better.
Information is it's going to blow your mind. It's only going to get better from this episode on. Here
on the Apex Mindset Podcast.
Have a good night, guys.
Peace.